Hello and welcome once again to Intro to Computer Games and Simulations here at Lorain County Community College. I am Mike Substelny, the instructor for this class this term. Today we are entering the second module of our adventure together, where we are going to discuss the concept of the structure of games. We'll be talking about what makes a game and what makes it different from other forms of entertainment. We will discuss what is a game, and it turns out the answer is not definitive, but we do get some terminology that you will use in describing games throughout your career. We're going to start by comparing two games. Here we have Cityville, the Facebook game, and here we have chess. Both we call games, though they are quite different from each other. Question is, what is a game? Must the game require a computer or console? Anybody in the room want to weigh in? Yeah, what do you think? If it has no computer or console, can it possibly be a game? Yes, it can be a game. Most say that. What about a ball or a deck of cards? Do all games require a ball? Do all games require a deck of cards? I think we're in agreement that that answer is no. So what is a game? Must a game have a point score? Many games do have point scores. We just, however, showed the example of chess. There's also the game of solids and stripes that you can play on a pool table where the winner is the one who legally sinks the 8 ball. And the loser is the one who does not legally sink the 8 ball or illegally sinks the 8 ball. And the points don't matter. Well, must a game have these things we call players? Aha! Now we are on to something. It seems that you cannot have something you call a game without having something you also call a player for that game. In fact, the purpose of any game seems to be the experience of the players of that game. Now, do other forms of entertainment have this feature, the experience of players? Let's look at other forms of entertainment, such as films. Films pretty much don't have players. As soon as you have created some sort of film that has players, you call it a game. Music. Well, music has musicians that play instruments, but music is not for the enjoyment of players who are trying to win the music. How about books? Books have authors, books have readers, books have critics, but books really don't have players. As soon as you make a choose-your-own-adventure book, you begin to call that a game. Art. Sculptures, paintings, things like that. That's a form of entertainment, goes way, way back ancient into human history, and does not have players, and you cannot win art. If you have made art into an art competition, then you've suddenly made it a game. So with very few exceptions, the consumer of a film, music, book, or art is passive. They don't contribute to the outcome of the entertainment. Game players are pretty much by definition active participants. Players will make decisions while playing a game. Players will affect the outcome of the game. Players care about the outcome of the game. They are invested in the outcome. They are part of the outcome of the game. Players can win. Players can lose. Players can perform well or poorly. You may end the game with a better batting average than you started the game, or earned run average or something like that, if you have a game that keeps statistics. Players will have objectives in a game. Each player will have specific goals that they wish to achieve. Other forms of entertainment don't have that. For example, I'm looking at Plants vs. Zombies right here, or Evil Clutches that you made in the first week in this class, where you have the objective in the Plants vs. Zombies of protecting your front porch from this onslaught of zombies. Or in Evil Clutches, you have the objectives of rescuing as many babies as you can while scoring points by slaughtering the demons. And some of you have made versions of Evil Clutches that have all kinds of other things going on too, and that's excellent. Games will have outcomes. Well, other forms of entertainment do have outcomes. All right, chess, the eventual outcome is either a checkmate or a stalemate. But movies have outcomes too. Anybody recognize that movie? That is the final shot of one of the most famous silent movies, the Russian film Battleship Potemkin. Communist propaganda film. Well, Heart of Darkness, a book. Any kind of story, there is some kind of outcome to that. They share that with games. If it's got a drama, it has an outcome. But the movie viewer, the book reader, they do not affect that outcome. They may care about the outcome. They may want good to triumph over evil, for example, but they don't control that outcome. As soon as the viewer or reader controls the outcome of the movie or book, we call it a game. Let's talk about games versus other forms of stories. Game players, as we just said, have some control over the outcome of the game. The outcome is unknown and pretty much unknowable until the game comes to its conclusion. Outcomes might be equal, outcomes might be unequal. You may have someone who doesn't lose everything but loses quite a bit of money in a game of poker, for example. Games have procedures. Is it an important word? Last week we talked about an important word, the game developer. This week we're going to talk about procedures. Procedures are the way players interact with their games. Expect that as a quiz question, test question throughout this term. Pressing buttons in a computer game might be a procedure. Throwing balls in baseball might be a procedure. Moving pieces in chess might be a procedure. Turning a steering wheel in a driving game might be a procedure. These are all ways that the players interact with the game. We will refer to these as the game's procedures for the rest of this term. Let's talk about the procedures in a console game as an example. Pushing the buttons, moving the little shafts around on the handheld controller are the procedures. Now, procedures are unique to games. If you're an audience of a film or a play or a concert or something like that, you usually don't have a procedure whereby you interact with the movie or the concert or the work of art or something like that. As soon as you add procedures, it becomes a form of game. Another thing, all games have rules. This will be another test question you will see throughout this term. Please get it right. Within the context of a film, the film viewer has no rules. Books, plays, movies, works of art, you really don't have a rule for how you're supposed to interact with that form of entertainment. In games, there are rules for how you are supposed to interact with that entertainment. And in fact, you cannot have a game without rules. All right? Every year I get somebody answering a test question, oh yes, there are games without rules. How do you play a game with no rules? All games have rules. Here are the rules for straight poker. It comes with every deck of cards that can be used for playing poker. You will probably see. It's actually a short list of rules that it takes to describe that game. And this is actually not poker. This is a hand of bridge that we're looking at here. And there are a much more complicated set of rules for playing bridge. Rules in Artemis Spaceship Bridge Simulator. Here's a rule that your ship has shields, and those shields will absorb damage from enemies and friendlies and whatever else happens to be trying to kill you up to their limits. After that, your ship begins taking internal damage. Shields, that's a rule in the game. You've written Evil Clutches now. You've written rules into a game. Here's a Bejeweled Blitz, a game a lot of people know about. Now, all procedures for interacting with a game are rules. So which gem you can move in which direction in Bejeweled Blitz and what will happen when those are moved, those are rules. How you move them, those are rules and procedures. So all procedures are rules. In evil clutches, you have your procedure of pressing the up arrow key or the down arrow key or whatever keys you used in your version of the game allows you to move that dragon character up and down. Some of you allowed the dragon character to move horizontally also. That was pretty cool. Those are procedures and rules. The fact that a fireball is launched by pressing the space bar is a procedure and a rule. The fact that the fireball destroys a demon when they come in contact with each other, that is a rule. It is not a procedure. Clear on the difference? Rules, procedures. We could answer questions about that. Excellent. So not all rules are procedures. You should be able to tell the difference between them on a quiz question. All right. Let's talk about resources. Games have resources. They are items that a player may use whose value comes from scarcity and utility. If they are everywhere, then there's not a lot, then you don't really call it much of a resource. Like, let's say on a baseball field, the grass. That's everywhere on the field. You barely would consider that a resource, but your glove would be a resource. In, what is this, Darksiders, I think, the sword, Chaos Eater, I think it's called, is quite a powerful resource. There's only one of these in the world, and it's yours to go around doing many, many active and somewhat violent things. Oh, Chaos Eater. Chaos Eater is the name of that sword. Each card in your bridge hand is a resource that has certain abilities. They are scarce. There's only one of each card in the deck. And they have their utility in taking tricks. In this deck, or in this hand of bridge, hearts are the strong suit. You have the ace, king, jack, 9, 8, all in the same suit. That's a great suit for taking tricks in the game of bridge. You can learn a lot about game development by learning the rules of that game, by the way. Games have boundaries. Even open world games have boundaries. What we're looking at here is Grand Theft Auto 4, which was lauded as a great open world game, groundbreaking when it came out. Here's a game of, that's Artemis Spaceship Bridge Simulator. That's a sector of space that you have to patrol and defend. The boundaries of this are you can't go beyond the edges of that sector map. And the enemies will not go beyond the edges of that sector map either. In this case, the boundaries are very simple and very obvious. Not always the case, though. What's the boundary in a hand of bridge or poker? Well, we could say the boundary is a social convention. I will continue playing this game for the duration of time it takes to complete the hands, the tricks, the scoring, things like that. That would be a boundary, a time boundary in that case. In basketball, you've got boundaries. There is inbounds and out of bounds. Pretty straightforward. Those are rules. All boundaries are a type of rule for a game. There's the three-point line. That is a type of boundary within the game. On one side, your shot is worth 2 points. On the other side, your shot is worth 3 points. We're depicting, I believe, a three-point shot in this photograph we're looking at here. But again, not every rule is a boundary. A procedure and a boundary, for instance, are not the same thing. Games have conflict. We're looking here at a game you will build later in this term, Koala Brait, where the little koalas are in conflict against all the awful things like TNT that are attempting to kill them in awful ways. Players can be performing against a challenging obstacle, which is a puzzle. Many puzzles are considered games. And Koala Brait is both a game and a puzzle. Games have conflict. Here we have two teams in conflict with each other. The batter and the catcher that you're seeing in this picture are not on the same team. The pitcher that is not shown in this is not on the same team as the batter. They are in conflict with each other. The batter is trying to get on base or score a run. The pitcher is trying to get the batter out. So in this case, the players are performing against each other, and they're doing it in real time. Sometimes the conflict is not in real time. Here we have the Facebook game Car Town, where the players perform against each other asynchronously. You race your little car at some point in time, and you send a challenge to another player who races their little car at another point of time, and then the computer resolves who won the race after you've both raced your cars asynchronously. Games offer challenge. The second game you're going to make, Galactic Mail, you have the challenge of landing your little rocket ship safely on moving moons and avoiding the deadly asteroids that are out there trying to smash you to bits. Now, games may or may not offer dramatic elements. There may be a premise to a game. For example, here's a Cleveland-based social game, Railroad Empire. The premise of Railroad Empire would be that you are a railroad tycoon who is building your empire with tracks and engines and cars and things like that to move people and freight around America, and you have other empire builders also out there with you in the world at the same time. You may have characters in a game. This is John Marsden from Red Dead Redemption. We're looking at here is a character with a personality, and we'll go into motivations and personalities and things like that later when we talk about dramatic elements. Another dramatic element may be story. We're looking here at Lego Star Wars, which has quite a bit of story, the Star Wars Complete Saga, very long and involved story with lots of characters. And we will have this week's online discussion in the Canvas system. What is a game? I invite you all to participate, and we will have a lively conversation with the in-class and online students with our ideas of what is and what is not a game throughout this week. There are also serious games, different type of games, serious games and simulations, but these are also often called games, and we offer a class in the CGSD degree program in serious games and simulations, where you would look at this game in the lower right corner, Immune Attack there, where you would learn about the immune system by playing a serious game. You also have classroom simulations that are game-like, where you might be scored on your performance and your interaction. Simulates a real experience. Here we're looking at a simulation of a patient in the lower left corner. It's not a real patient in a real hospital room, but it is a serious simulation where the student will be graded on their performance. Serious games is a pretty interesting subject for those of you who wish to be game developers. The purpose might be educational, as in the example on the right, or it might be therapeutic. The example on the left is a picture of me wearing a brainwave helmet, playing a serious game that is for treating attention deficit disorder. It's measuring my level of concentration via brainwaves, and I score by having my level of concentration high in playing that game. If you take the Serious Games and Simulations class, you will get to play this series of games that are controlled through your brain waves. And that is considered a therapy, not necessarily an education. Serious games may also be experimental. You may be attempting to determine the best layout for an industrial facility, or what location, what city in America should have your distribution center if you are Amazon or Walmart or something like that. You could make a simulation of the highway system of America and figure that out. Or airlines, other things like that. They all use simulations to do experiments to solve complicated problems. Now, in serious games, the players, learners, experimenters, etc., still have control over the outcome. If the outcome was predetermined, you wouldn't even need to bother to do it. The example we're seeing here is a game that was developed for our engineering, intro to engineering class in the engineering technologies division here. And the online students play this simulation trying to move machines around in a factory and come up with the most efficient layout of the factory. Here's another serious game developed for Lorain County Community College. This is Ion Field. It's kind of a Tetris-like game where you learn how the fields of ions, the octet rule, works. And the better you understand the octet rule, the better you will score as you slide your ions back and forth, your atoms back and forth, and make compounds. So the outcomes might not be unequal in a serious game, or they might be unequal. You might not have competition or conflict necessarily going on in a serious game, but we still call it a serious game. The goal of a serious game, as with Ion Field, may simply be to learn the rules. And as you play the game, you get a better and better understanding of the octet rule. And so by the time you're done playing, you are a master of the octet rule and you are ready to get an A on your chemistry test. All right, there are other serious games that you've probably played. Guitar Hero, Rock Band, DJ Hero. Some of these are semi-serious. You learn a little bit about music by mastering these games. You get some musical skill as you master these games. And now let's look at data I get from the Entertainment Software Association for, this was 2008, the last year I had data for. Entertainment Software Association gave us the number for the red bar, which is $9.5 billion of sales comparison in 2007, of sales in entertainment games. And the Reconciling Serious Game Market Size report by Elaine Aldreff, which came out in April 2008, said the market for serious games was $10.5 billion. So I know you've heard before that the games industry is bigger than the film industry as far as money goes, and it is. The games industry is bigger than books, and it is. The games industry is bigger than a lot of sports. It is. There's a lot of money to be made in games. There's even more money to be made in serious games. It's probably a career you've never even thought of. But writing industrial simulations, educational games, simulations for the Army or the Navy, something like that, a lot of money is invested in creating those games every year. And those could be great, lucrative career opportunities for you. Coming up next time, we're going to talk about what makes a good game as opposed to what makes a not so good game. So until next time, this is Mike Substelny signing off for Intro to Computer Games and Simulations here at Lorain County Community College.